Cameron Alborzian, one of the top male supermodels of the 90s. Long hair, sharp jawline, and a masculine face that looked like it was carved by a sculptor. He had that rare combination of raw sex appeal and elegance. A look that made fashion legends stop and stare. The kind of look that dominated fashion campaigns and runway shows. He had that effortlessly cool look that made designers and magazines obsess over him. He had it all. Fame, looks, status, he was everywhere. He modeled for designers like Versace, Chanel, Jean Paul Gaultier, and was everywhere from the biggest runways in Paris to major ad campaigns. He was even the guy in Madonna's iconic Express Yourself music video. He was basically the blueprint for the male supermodel vibe back then. But then suddenly, he vanished. No headlines, no drama, just disappeared from the spotlight quietly, like he was never there. Cameron was making over $50,000 a day. Why did he leave all this? Why did Cameron quit modeling in his prime? At the height of his career, when most people would be holding on tighter, he walked away, left it all behind. So what really happened to him? And where is he now? Let's find out. Cameron was born on February 26, 1967, in Tehran, Iran, to an English mother and an Iranian father. He spent his early years between Tehran and Shiraz, until the Iranian Revolution forced major changes in his life. At just 10 years old, his parents sent him to boarding school in England, where he had to adapt to a completely different world, and a language he didn't even speak yet. Adjusting wasn't easy, he barely spoke English and struggled academically. School wasn't exactly his strong suit. But when it came to sports, he started to shine. Around the age of 17, he enrolled in a sports college in the middle of England, part of the largest campus in Europe. The place had everything: a university, an arts college, and of course, the sports academy where Cameron was training to become a professional tennis player and teacher. But during that time, he had a realization: the competitive, aggressive nature of professional sports just didn't align with his personality. He found himself more drawn to creativity, to art. And everything changed when one day, he was asked to model for an end-of-year fashion show by the arts students. That unexpected moment lit something up in him. He left sports behind and dropped out of college entirely. Then, while walking on the street in London at 19 years old, someone approached him and asked if he'd ever considered modeling. It was perfect timing. Just a few weeks later, Cameron was in Paris, already walking the runway for Jean Paul Gaultier and stepping into the world of high fashion. He didn't just become a model, he landed in the fashion scene like a lightning strike. Within weeks of being discovered, he was walking for some of the biggest names in the industry, and from there, his career snowballed. By the early 90s, Cameron wasn't just another face in fashion, he was the moment. Standing at 6 feet tall, with long flowing hair, a chiseled jawline, and that piercing stare, his look was magnetic. He had that strong masculine face that made him unforgettable. He wasn't just modeling clothes, he was selling a lifestyle. That old school, almost mythical male beauty you just don't see anymore. And then came his appearance in Madonna's Express Yourself music video. That sealed the deal. One minute you're walking Paris Fashion Week, the next you're shirtless in a Madonna video seen by millions. Cameron had officially crossed over from runway star to pop culture icon. He had the fame, the contracts, the attention, but underneath all that, something was shifting. At the height of his career, Cameron had it all. The biggest designers, international campaigns, and the kind of fame most people only dream of. But instead of chasing more, he did the unthinkable. He walked away. Why would someone leave when they're at the top? The truth is, Cameron started feeling disconnected. Modeling for him began to feel hollow. He once mentioned how the industry revolved around image, ego, and competition, everything he no longer identified with. It wasn't that he hated fashion. He just didn't belong in that world anymore. There was a growing desire in him, something deeper. A need to understand life beyond the surface, beyond the cameras and flashing lights. He began exploring Eastern philosophy, spirituality, and healing. And slowly, the fashion world faded into the background. Imagine this: you're in your prime, one of the most in-demand male models in the world. You're making $50,000 a day, just for showing up to a shoot, walking a runway, or starring in a music video. You're partying in New York, jetting between Paris and Milan, hanging out with the biggest designers, musicians, and supermodels of the time. And then, you give it all up. That's exactly what Cameron Alborzian did. At the height of his modeling career, Cameron walked away from the chaos of high fashion, the fame, the luxury, the adrenaline, and took a completely different path. He didn't just retire from modeling, he left the entire lifestyle. He left the United States and traveled to India. Why? Because deep down, something didn't feel right. Modeling gave him fame, but it didn't give him peace.
Everything goes away. You're not making money anymore. That's the biggest thing. Nobody's calling you anymore because you moved to India.
In India, Cameron found something else, something ancient. He immersed himself in Ayurveda and yoga. For those who don't know, Ayurveda is a 5,000-year-old system of natural healing that originated in India. It focuses on balancing the body, mind, and spirit through diet, herbs, lifestyle practices, and internal energy alignment. It's not just about treating symptoms, It's about understanding the root of who you are. And yoga to Cameron wasn't just exercise, it was a philosophy. A way of life rooted in discipline, presence, and connection to something deeper. He studied for years, became a certified Ayurvedic practitioner, and started calling himself Yogi Cameron. No longer just a guy with perfect bone structure and long hair. Now, he was guiding others on how to live cleaner, calmer, and more connected lives. Cameron Alborzian lives a life that's probably the complete opposite of the fashion world he once dominated. After stepping away from the runway, Cameron fully immersed himself in the world of Ayurveda and yoga, not just as practices, but as a whole way of life. He trained in India, studied ancient healing systems, and dedicated himself to holistic wellness. His transformation wasn't some trendy detox. It was a full-on spiritual calling. Today, he goes by Yogi Cameron, and his daily life looks more like a monk's than a model's. He's married to Jaima, a fellow yoga teacher and spiritual practitioner. The two live a deeply connected intentional life, practicing yoga, meditation, and mantra chanting together. If you check out their Instagram, it's all peaceful landscapes, devotional music, and little moments of sacred living. No flashing cameras, no catwalks, just calm. He also has a daughter named Azusana, and by all accounts, he's living a family life that's rooted in balance, healing, and love. Cameron made a quiet comeback to modeling in 2018, walking the runway for Dior men in his 50s. The fall-winter collection brought back iconic 90s male supermodels, and Cameron was among them, opening the show and showcasing his enduring presence in the fashion world. And he's still in demand, just in a completely different way. Cameron works as a live-in wellness coach, literally moving into his clients' homes. He puts them on strict vegetarian diets, eliminates alcohol, and guides them through intense Ayurvedic treatments like panchakarma, herbal remedies, and spiritual routines involving yamas, niyamas, and dharanas. For all that, he reportedly charges up to $500 an hour. Among his clients, celebs like Ellen DeGeneres, who've turned to him not just for healing, but for a whole life reset. And the turning point that made him walk away from fashion for good, a meeting with Nelson Mandela in 1998. Cameron flew to South Africa alongside supermodels Naomi Campbell, Christy Turlington, and Kate Moss for a charity event, and something just clicked. He later said, "I realized that I couldn't attain a higher level of success in fashion than I already had." It was that moment, standing in the presence of someone like Mandela, that made him see life through a different lens. Fame, money, glamour, it all started to feel shallow compared to purpose. Later, after losing a close friend and mentor in the world of naturopathy, Cameron's journey deepened even more. It wasn't about leaving fashion anymore, it was about finding his true path. Time flies. And with it, everything changes. In the 90s, Cameron was the epitome of masculine beauty. Sharp jawline, long hair, and that unmistakable charm that made him one of the most desired faces in the modeling world. His image was everywhere, on billboards, magazine covers, and in the hearts of countless admirers who saw him as the perfect example of youthful raw attraction. But now, years later, it's impossible to ignore the reality that time has passed. He's no longer that young heartthrob he once was. Age has softened the sharp edges of his face, and the wisdom and experience have followed. It's clear that those days of youthful beauty are long gone. We all go through it, the slow, painful shift. The once celebrated features are now mere echoes of the past, reminding us that nothing lasts forever, not even the beauty that once seemed eternal. We all age, and it's a bitter truth we can't escape. No matter how hard we try to hold on, no matter how many anti-aging treatments we buy or how many workouts we do, the years slip by. The face that once turned heads now bears the marks of time. It's a harsh reminder that youth is fleeting, and we are all destined to watch ourselves fade away in the same way. We all think we have more time, but in the end, time doesn't wait for anyone. And that's just how life is. We'll never truly know what the future holds. Cameron, at one point, was a young man walking the streets of London, lost and uncertain about his path. He left college behind, unsure of his next steps, until somebody stopped him on the street and offered him a chance to model. It was a turning point that led to a career he never expected, but one that would bring him fame, fortune, and recognition. But not everyone's story follows the same path. Take Vasily Stepanov, for example, one of the most handsome men in the world, standing at 6 feet 3 inches, with money, fame, and a promising career as an actor. It seemed like he had it all. Tragically, his story took a dark turn. He jumped from the 5th floor. What went wrong? How did someone who appeared to have everything end up in such a tragic situation? To find out more about his story, check out this video.